Hello the internet and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the IBM 5160 repair and restoration series. If you haven't watched part 1, I would recommend you go and watch it. Lots of things happened in part 1, including things exploding on me. So if you like things exploding, just go and watch part 1. It's lots of fun. You're gonna like it. We reached the end of the video with a reliable bare system, and I was about to test the floppy drive, which we're gonna do straight away. Then we're gonna test the hard drive, the other hard drive, the remaining boards, and hopefully if we get the system fully up and running, we can do a little bit of restoration to bring the 5150 back to its old glory. This video is sponsored by PCBWay, more on that later, but now let's not waste any more time and let's resume our work on the 5160 exactly where we left on our last episode. Right, I think we're ready for the next step, which is the floppy. I got the floppy controller back in and 2 freshly recorded floppy disks with PC-DOS 3.3 of course, and I want to see whether this floppy drive is working, is putting the system into PC-DOS. So I've got this one in it and we can power up and see what happens. In 3, 2, 1, go. Well, clearly there's something wrong with whatever that's called, a plastic basket. It's supposed to self-center, so maybe I should try and fix that before we try and boot up. Right, I'm not entirely sure what's wrong with the basket, but it looks like a mechanical problem, so maybe it just needs to be dismantled and cleaned. But once it's somehow centered, it's booted up. Fantastic! That's great. We are in MS-DOS, actually in PC-DOS. Look at that! It's working. Okay, that's great. Well, I'll take a look at that in a minute. You know, I think it's a good thing that the drive is actually moving a bit, it's exercising a bit, because chances are this drive has been unused for decades. So, you know, let's give it a little bit of time. The next thing I'd like to try is maybe to get my XT IDE connected to this XT. Then I can boot from my compact flash and run, check it, and maybe exercise the drive a bit, make sure everything works, before we move to the next step, which is the hard drive. Change of plans. Let's fix this basket now. It's not such a complex device, so I can only think of taking it apart and give it a clean. First, I removed the retaining ring so I could take the assembly out of the drive. Then I removed the bottom retaining ring to further disassemble it. The solid plastic disc is attached to the shaft using a ball bearing, so that doesn't need attention. I cleaned the plastic parts and applied a bit of silicone spray, which leaves behind a film of non-sticky lubrication. Before installing it back, I cleaned the aluminium spindle and also wiped the metal arm. Finally, I fitted the whole assembly back. I tested several times and the basket aligned perfectly each time, so I hope this was all it needed to work properly. It's time for my XT IDE to spring into action. I assembled this card in my PS2 video and it was manufactured by PCBWay, the sponsor of this video. The internet is plenty of cool electronics projects, and if you have a PCB you would like to manufacture, I recommend you take a look at PCBWay.com. The online process is very easy to use and the manufacturing quality is extremely good. To place an order, you just need to upload the Gerber file to their website and the process is more or less automatic, leaving you with plenty of choices to customize your order. And don't forget that PCBWay also offers a 3D printing service and metal sheet manufacturing. Let me thank PCBWay for helping this channel, a link to their website is down below in the description. Now let's plug this card in and let's see if it works. In 3, 2, 1, go. Well, it's working. It's very impressive. This is a very, very slow PC. My PS2 with an 8086 was my slowest in my workshop, and I think this is slower than a PS2. Obviously, PS2 is a newer machine. This is taking forever. Okay, I would say let's run some tests. I would like to run a full memory test and also a floppy test to make sure it works. And once I know that the system is fully working and reliable, then I can move to the hard drive. But so far, this has been working totally fine. Since I fixed the keyboard, it seems to be totally fine. But you know, let's make sure that that's the case. Right, and it passed the memory test. Now it's taken absolutely forever. I think it's taken about an hour, but it passed, so that's great. The next step is going to be to check the floppy drive. I like check it routine because it's pretty comprehensive, so let me find a floppy drive which I can spare and we can run it and see whether the drive is working. And the floppy test passed. I'm pretty happy because diagnosing these drives is not super easy. So I'm happy that this is working totally fine. And also the little cleaning that I've done to that little plastic basket, it's been working totally fine because it hasn't missed an alignment once. So that's also fixed. It's great. So we have a fully working motherboard, I guess. The memory is totally working. The controller is working. The flop is working. The video card is working. I guess it's time to test the hard drive. Okay, I'm almost ready to attach the hard drive, which is a Type 13 20 megabyte hard drive. As you can see, it's a beast. It's model WD25. I'm wondering what the WD stands for Western Digital. Now, at the back of the hard drive, I don't see tantalums at all, so that should be fine to go without too many risks. But on the controller board, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 tantalum capacitors. Some on the 5 volts, at least one is on the 12 line. So I'll definitely want to remove and replace that one. So let me replace the tantalum and then we can try and power up this hard drive, which I guess has been powered off for quite a long time. I'm going to power on. I'll put the microphone close to the hard drive. I haven't tested this myself, so I have no idea what's going to happen. Hopefully nothing nasty, and hopefully we're going to have a working hard drive, because this is one of those squeaky hard drives. I really love the sound. I used to have PS2s when I used to go to school when I was a teenager, so that squeaky noise when we were powering up the PS2s, you know, it's part of my good memories. So hopefully this is going to work. Okay. Ready to power up in 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, there's something. I think there's something going on. I heard clicking noise. I think it was coming maybe from the power supply. Oh, I think my power limiter is engaging a bit because obviously the hard drive is a big thing. It probably needs quite a lot of power to actually spin. At the same time, I hope it's not something else and just giving more power is going to result in a bigger bang. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, no. It needs a bit more power. Maximum power.
Maximum warp.
In 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, it's working. Taking off. Yay! It's working! Right, well, definitely kind of working. It's spinning up. It's not throwing up an error message on the post, which is great. It did something. It read something. So there's definitely something working, but then it crashed. Now the computer is not responding to Control-Alt-Delete. So I'll have to power it off and on again. No idea whether maybe it's calling for some software, some card, which is not there. I have no idea. Chances are the drive just needs a low-level format, because probably it's been there for many, many years. I can't believe we have a working hard drive. We got a directory. That is so amazing. I used to have this at school. It is so cool. This is so amazing. Yeah, it's exactly the same. I remember this. Oh my gosh, this is so like a wall of memory coming at me. I can't believe the hard drive is working. And it looks like this was registered to a company called SERC. Okay, I've managed to boot from the hard drive. I've just deleted the autoexec.bat because I don't know how to edit files with DOS 3.3. And it comes with DOS, well, IBM DOS 3.2. So that is absolutely amazing. Well, it looks like the disk is working. What I'd like to do, I don't see anything special on this disk. I think I'd like to wipe it, install MS-DOS from the floppy disk, and then test it with Checkit and make sure that it's working. I think this drive would enjoy like a full format to make sure that everything is rewritten, because again, I'm assuming that maybe was formatted like 30 years ago. So it can't hurt to just reformat the whole drive. Now it's finished the format. I don't know whether it's doing some sort of surface scan. I guess so, because it's this format. And it doesn't report anything. Does that mean that this drive is fully working? I can't believe that. Now let's install DOS on it, DOS 3.3, and then we can run some extended tests and make sure that everything is fine. I believe that the select, which is the older version of the setup of the MS-DOS, is also reformatting the drive. So maybe formatting it again wasn't required, but anyways. Well, it worked. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't copy the content of disk 2. I had to do that myself, but it worked. It formatted again, totally fine. Everything seems to be working perfectly fine on this computer. I am so impressed. Now, let me see if I can have my XT ID and the hard drive at the same time. I'm not sure about that, because that would be great to transfer data from the compact flash onto the hard drive, and then we can run some tests. Not much you can run on an 8088, obviously, but you know, we can definitely run more than we have now. Getting the XT ID working along with the mechanical drive took me a long time. As you can see, XT ID does recognize my compact flash, but when into DOS, I couldn't see it. I played with that for a long time. I reformatted the compact flash on the Windows, I played with the XT ID BIOS versions and parameters, but it wouldn't work. And then I understood what the problem was. The system was booting from the IBM hard drive, so I was trying to access a 512 MB compact flash, partitioned and formatted with MS-DOS 6.22, from a DOS 3.3 system with big BIOS limitations in terms of available partitions. When I realized that, I just cleared the compact flash on the Windows, repartitioned it under DOS 3.3 and formatted it there. The maximum size DOS 3.3 suggested was 32 MB. I thought something was wrong again, and then I realized that that was probably the biggest hard drive allowed by either DOS or the BIOS of the IBM. Once that configuration was accepted, the compact flash formatted fine under DOS 3.3, and I could transfer the data I wanted using my Windows computer. Right, with Checkit open, the next step would be to check the hard drive. I'm curious to see whether this hard drive is in perfect health, as it looks like, as so far it's been working totally fine. wow, it passed all the tests. Now, this is only a read test, it doesn't have a write test, but I mean, I've formatted it twice. I've installed the operating system, I've been running software from it, the read test is fine, obviously the head can stick everywhere. It looks like this is my very first vintage IBM hard drive, which is working 100%. Well, I guess now there's one very important board I'd like to test, and it's the HardCard 2.0, which features a hard drive on it. So let's crack on. I do see a tantalum capacitor here, so let's check on which voltage rail it is on. And it looks like it's on the -12 line, so definitely something I want to replace. So let's replace it. Right, I got the card back in. I had to wedge it in place because obviously it's pretty heavy here at the back end, but there's no support from the chassis. So otherwise it was just disconnected from the slot. I need to be careful about that. I've got a floppy with the installation software for the card in case I need it. I have no idea whether this is going to be recognized and it works, or whether it needs some drivers, some software, I don't know. So I'll explore. Let's power up in 3, 2, 1, go. Is it working? Well, the drive sounds very dead, and I can see it's preventing the computer from booting. Right, 1701 is the hard drive error. I don't know what C stands for, but it says controller number 1 error. So I'm assuming that this is seen as a hard drive controller and is throwing up an error message, probably because the hard drive is not spinning. So, the thing is that I don't hear any mechanical noise coming from this hard drive, so it sounds like it's not even trying to spin, and I'm wondering whether the drive is completely dead or stuck, or whether there's something else which has happened and that's why the drive is not spinning. Okay, I'd like to try again, but this time with the controller disconnected, the main controller disconnected, and the hard drive disconnected. It is pretty noisy, so hopefully if some noise is coming from the hard drive, I have more chances to hear it. Let's try this again in 3, 2, 1. Nope. It's very dead. I don't hear absolutely anything. Okay, well, I had a look online and it sounds like these cards are notorious for having problems. Particularly the hard drive is getting stuck as the platters are not spinning anymore, and or the heads are getting stuck. There's apparently some rubber padding which is becoming like sticky and gooey over time, and then at that point the head doesn't have enough torque to move away from the stickiness. Now the thing is, usually when that happens you hear some buzzing noise coming from the drive, whether it's the motor which is trying to spin the platters or the voice coil trying to move the head. The fact that I'm not hearing anything coming out of this drive is a bit suspicious. Now before I try to mechanically unstuck the drive in a way or another, which is not going to be nice, I would like to scope this motor connector and see if there's anything coming out of it. So let's do that. Okay, so I see 12 volts here, so that's, I would say, good news. It means, well, there's definitely something going to the hard drive. The next pin I checked in is ground. The next one, well, it's 9 volts. I'm not sure whether that's supposed to be 9 or not. And the next one, there's nothing on it besides a few millivolts. I don't know how this disk works, but from a video I saw on Adrian Digital Basement, there is a controller inside the hard drive, so I'm assuming that that is going to be like 12 volts plus maybe some speed coming back. I'm probably not expecting data coming through that connector. That's what I'm trying to say. It's probably just voltage, and then the controller will take care of the speed and everything. So the fact that I got 12 volts going in and this 9 volts, I don't know where it's coming from, probably means the drive is stuck. Well, one thing I'm feeling is that the drive is actually getting mildly warm, which might indicate that there's voltage going to it and something's happening. Maybe next thing I want to try is to remove the back cover, because I understand the driver of the motor itself is behind it. I'm curious to see what's going on in there. Okay, I've removed the plastic cover of this drive, which is horrendously stuck with double-sided tape, and I understand the other side is even worse. And what I found here is a HA13426. Now this is a 3-phase motor driver. Now from the datasheet of these driver IC, I can see that pins 13, 15 and 17 are connected to the winding on the motor. So by using my multimeter in resistance mode, I should be able to test those pins, and I'm expecting to read like some kind of low value, which is typical for a winding of a motor. So let's take a look. This is 13 with 15, I've got 6.7. 13 with 17, I've got exactly the same, 6.7. And 15 with 17, I've got 6.8, but it's basically the same. So that should tell me that the windings are intact, they're working. That's not our problem with the motor. Now, one thing I'm seeing here is pretty interesting. I believe that under the metal shield, there's actually the rotor. So with a plastic tool, I should be able to move it. And if it's just the drive which has become stuck because of old bearings, that might just revive it. Let's see what I can do. I'm thinking spinning, but I'm not sure about that. Yes, it's definitely spinning, because you should be able to see... There it is. You see there's a magnet there, and I'm spinning it. Let's try this again. Chances are that's all it needed to restart. In 3, 2, 1, go. It's spinning! Yay! I guess we have some progress. We still have the 1701 error. The hard drive controller is not plugged in. That's probably telling me there's still something wrong with this. But it's spinning. I think it's great. I think I'll let this spin for a while just to exercise the bearing and everything. And then, I don't know, I can try and power cycle it. That's all I can do. Right, now I'm listening to this hard drive. It feels as the heads are not resetting for whatever reason. Let me see if I can put that on the microphone. It sounds like the heads are going back and forth, but maybe we can revive it. Maybe it just needs a good low-level format. What matters is it does spin. I think it's a good step forward. Also, and this is important, I guess this is telling me the heads are not stuck. So finger crossed, we can revive this. Let me try and run the diagnostic. I would say let's replug the main hard drive, and let's run not the diagnostic but the installation software, see if by any chance it comes up with anything. It would be a good starting point whether the installation could see the controller at all and talk to it. Well, it looks like the installation disk needs the HardCard file system to be up and running to work. And if I run fdisk doesn't see the other drive, so I can't even try and reformat or anything. Chances are getting slim here to get this drive to work. I think the next step would be to use, there's a software, I think it's called S-Store. I can't remember the full name of it. I have it somewhere. That should be able to talk to the controller. I want to see whether the controller is responding, whether the controller is seeing anything. To be honest, it looks like there is a problem with the drive. And I think this is bad news. This is clearly something stuck on the platters. I think one of the heads has got stuck on the platter, and that was the reason why the platter wasn't going anywhere. And when I manually moved it, it's just detached from the head. There's nothing you can do. It's stuck in there. No way you can recover it, and no way this hard drive will ever be functional again. It's a shame. Totally not worth investing any time on this drive. It's mechanically gone. So I got Speed Store running, and it doesn't even recognize my XT IDE, but most importantly, it doesn't recognize the HardCard. It says drive 0, and if I select manual setup, it says drive 1 manufacturer, no model, no drive, sorry. And that's it, I can't do anything. I can only quit. I think this is consistent with the error the motherboard is throwing out, which is an error with the controller. So it looks like maybe the hard drive is clearly mechanically faulty, but maybe there's an issue with the controller as well. Right, so I went and checked Adrian's Digital Basement's video where he analyzes the drive like this. You can find the link down below in the description. And unsurprisingly, he had exactly the same issue this is having. So the drive was stuck, he put some force into it to just make him spin it again, and he started spinning, and then after a while it got noisy until he ended up with exactly the same ticking noise this has when you're spinning it down. Adrian ended up opening up the drive to see what was wrong with it, and again, I'll let you watch the video if you're interested to know what happens. Also, Adrian said that these drives are more or less 100% unreliable. It's very, very difficult to find a working one. So again, I'm not gonna waste any time on this one, but I might go ahead and open it up and see what's wrong with it, just out of curiosity. Now we have 3 more cards to test, which are the serial, the parallel, and the network card. Now, I don't have serial or parallel devices, and I don't have that kind of network that we can test. So all I can do is just plug them in, make sure there are no tantalums on 12 volts that can explode, and make sure they work, make sure the system boots up with those cards in. And then I guess we can call it a day, give the case a good clean, reinstall everything, put everything back together, and this should be good to go. Right, here we got the Ethernet card, and one interesting thing I see on this card is this little jumper selection here. It says slots 17 or slot 8. And I understand on this computer, slot 8 is slightly different than the others. The timings are different, as these cards on slot 8 are required to have tighter timings. And cards on slot 8 are supposed to respond with a card select signal. So I guess that's why this card has a selection, and you can select whether it's going to be installed on slot 8 or anywhere else. So this is pretty nice because you can choose whether you want to have it on slot 8. Other cards are simply not working in slot 8. I don't see tantalum capacitors on this one, so I'll clean the connector and plug it in, and honestly, just make sure it's there and the system boots up with it, because I don't know what to do with this card. And the system has posted totally fine, so let's move on with the next cards. Okay, well, what's left is the parallel and serial cards here. There are some tantalums on it, but they're all on the 5 volts line, so I'm not going to replace them. And then we can check using Checkit whether these are being detected by the hardware. Checkit is now confirming there is a COM port installed in the system with the chip type A250, and also that there is a parallel port connected. Forgive me for not investing time testing them. They're probably never going to be used, but the thing is they're working, the system is putting with them, they're seen by the software. I don't see why they shouldn't work. And we've run out of cards, so everything is great. There are 2 more things I'd like to test before start reassembling this thing and give it a clean and making sure it's up and running and working. And number 1 is the ROM version of this computer. Now I understand there are a few versions available, so I want to make sure that this is running the latest version, and if not, maybe I can burn a couple of ROMs and replace those 2. So let's have a look. So according to Checkit, the ROM revision that should be the American way, so that's the 10th of January 1986. Now there is an amazing website that I should have mentioned before, and it's called -0degrees.net. If you need anything about these machines, just go and pay them a visit. It's absolutely amazing. Whoever you are who put together all that information, thank you very much, because obviously that's information which is destined to be forgotten around the internet. There is a page about the IBM 5160 BIOS revisions, and according to this one, the 10th of January 1986 is not the latest one. There is a 9th of May version, which is a newer revision compared to that one. This sounds like to be a good revision because it's also supporting 720K floppy drives, but I'm here, I don't see why we shouldn't try and upgrade this system. Now we know it's working, let's break it, Let's make sure that the ROM is the latest one. The website says that these ROMs are 27256. I do have them in my stash. I'll burn a couple with the latest revision, and we can try and replace them and see if we upgrade this computer after 40 years. So first thing first, let's select the chip. There we go. DIP28. So let's load the BIOS I've downloaded from the website. So this is going to be U18, and let's try and program it. Well, it sounds good. So that's going to be U18. I'll just take a note and write something on it. The next IC is in, so let's load the next ROM. There we go. And let's program it. and it worked. So this is U19, let's take a note on it, and we can go on the motherboard and actually replace it. And it worked. BIOS date 9th of May 1986. Great. There is one final thing I'd like to do before start reassembling it and putting it back together. Now, I know the old say that says, if ain't broke, don't fix it, something like that. I really would like to reseat all the socketed chips on this motherboard. I know some of you might say, leave it, because you might break something. From my point of view, if something stops working, it was going to stop working at some point. I know it's debatable, but I'd rather reseat all the RAM chips. We got the CPU, we got some extra chips. It's not much, it's mostly RAM chips. I'll reseat everything, then I'll use some contact cleaner, of course, in the sockets. Then I'll retest everything. Then I know the system is going to be as unreliable as I can. Okay, all the ICs are being reseated. Hopefully I haven't done anything wrong. Let's power up and see what happens. In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, everything seems to be working fine. I'm running another memory test just to be on the safe side. But we can move to the next step, which is give the case a good clean and start putting things back together, which is fantastic. Yes, Prince of Persia is definitely too much for an 8086. I think you need like a 286 to run Prince of Persia, but it looks so good, it sounds nice, and it brings up so many memories. I thought I'm gonna use Prince of Persia to showcase this machine before the end of the video. I am so impressed by this computer. It's built like a tank. It is in very good shape of conservation, I have to say, but it works like nothing happened over the past 40 years. I'm absolutely impressed. The floppy drive makes this IBM expensive sound. It sounds great. The hard drive is just working flawlessly. It's 40 years old. I never had such an old hard drive just working as nothing happened. We only had one casualty, the HardCard 20. I might want to open it up at some point in a future episode just to see what's going on inside, see if by any chance we can fix it. I really doubt it, but without the hard drive the card is useless, so I'd like to know whether there's something I can do for it. Otherwise, again, nothing I can do for it and nothing this card can do for me. So now this computer is going to be on display at the Museum of Computing of Swindon. We just need to find a working monitor, and then every visitors will have the chance to play with this computer and just experience the IBM XT power. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as usual, I'd appreciate a thumb up down below, and also consider subscribing to this channel if you like these things. Also, if I can ask you to leave a comment, any comment, just to tell the YouTube algorithm you like this channel, you like this video, you would like to see more, that would be great. It would help a lot. Thank you for that. For now, thanks for watching. I wish you a great day, and I hope to see you again soon here on this channel for my next videos. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Bye-bye.